Is evolution just about the survival of the fittest? Could this random process actually play favourites? Here's an Undeception's instant expert. Ard Louis is Professor of Theoretical Physics at the University of Oxford, Department of Physics. He and his research team have been investigating what appears to be non-random streaks within evolution. The New York Times has labelled it a new law of nature. Ard is a lot more modest about his findings, but he says it does boil down to the fact that evolution favours simplicity over every other form.
The actual formal justification for why we should pick simple arguments over complicated arguments, so Occam's razor is the name. Occam, we think, was a fellow at Merton College here, so he's a local hero.
Local boy come good?
Yeah, exactly, local boy come good. It's not entirely clear whether he was or wasn't here, but...
Let's just go with it, for the sake of this podcast.
Are sure that he was here. And so he famously said that you should not multiply entities without necessity. But actually, you go all back to Aristotle, and all the way through history, people have said that simple theories are better than complicated ones. The idea being, if you've got two explanations, pick the simpler one, is more likely to be true. It's a very common philosophical move to make. It's actually fascinatingly hard to formally justify. So why is it true? Well, it seems to have worked well in science, but that doesn't explain yet why it's true. So another great philosopher, Richard Swinburne here at Oxford, has a book on simplicity where he basically says, look, it's just basic. Okay, I don't need to argue for it, it's just simply true. I'm going to assume it's true. I think that's still the best argument for it. However, and I say this argument, best general argument for why it might hold in the kind of big picture philosophical arguments. But what I'm arguing here is that if you think about natural processes that are generated by algorithms, which many of the natural processes we see in nature are, not just the evolutionary ones, but many other things around us have that quality to them, then, because if you randomly pick algorithms, you're much more likely to find a simple one than a complicated one. You're therefore much more likely to see simple things than complicated things. That's my stab at why it might therefore a posteriori be good to use simple explanations.
But I
because
think
simple explanations are more likely to happen.
If I had a box of numbers, it'd be much easier for me to just randomly throw them than for me to form a pattern of numbers.
Yeah.
So the pattern is simpler, but harder.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So I'll illustrate what you've just done with two monkey theorems, okay? The first monkey theorem is the infinite monkey theorem that you've probably heard of. You put a bunch of monkeys on typewriters, you wait long enough, will they type the works of Shakespeare? The answer is yes, but you have to wait extraordinarily long. So let's say I've got a typewriter with 50 keys on it, and I want to type some phrase like, good morning, John Dixon. Then the first letter is G, it's 1 in 50 chance. The second letter is O, 1 in 50 chance. Go all the way to the end. I don't know, maybe it's 15 letters. The probability of getting that right is 1 over 50 to the power 15, because I got to get it correct 15 times in a row. It's as likely as I get any other set of digits of that length right. So when you're just throwing your numbers on the ground, it's a bit like randomly typing on a typewriter. The probability of you seeing a nice pattern there is very small. And that's the kind of zero order way that you're thinking about this problem. But what if instead of the monkeys typing on a typewriter, they were typing into a computer program, okay? And you see the output, okay, of this computer program. You don't know what they're typing, and they're just still randomly typing. They might accidentally type print 0, 1, 500 times, which is 21 digits long. Small probability, but they might make that. And you'll suddenly see 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, length 1,000 string, very nicely ordered. So if you're looking at the output of monkeys typing onto a typewriter, then every string of a certain length will be equally likely or unlikely. But if they're typing into a computer program, there are some simple programs that can generate long outputs. And you'll see these, and these are typically ordered outputs, right? So print 0, 1 many times. Pi is a very famous number because pi is if you just look at the digits of pi, it looks random. But I can write you an algorithm that describes pi in just a few lines. So pi is so you would see the monkeys every so often, pi would come out, right? And so if you look at the patterns of the monkeys typing onto a computer program, you're going to see this bias towards simplicity. So what I'm saying is many things in our world are not just like random numbers thrown on the ground. They're something that comes out of some process. So the tree comes from an algorithmic process. Evolution is an algorithmic process. Our minds are using algorithmic processes. And many things in nature are now algorithmic processes. And therefore, if that is the case, if the processes are algorithmic, then a bias towards simplicity will naturally emerge.
If you've enjoyed the chance to become an instant expert, then you'll find much more, plus a bunch of other informative videos over at the Undeceptions YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for Undeceptions. See ya.